It's Doug Guardsman, we're back with another video. Now, yeah, I'm making quite a few of these to show off the cluster, but progress is being made, and I feel we need to record the progress as progress is being made. So, the missiles, even though these ones are still flying straight up, we did figure out that if they do reload, they will reload in the squiggle pattern, so I'm assuming this is entirely a client-side thing. That is not what I thought it was. I did end up fixing the actual targeting data, and my assumption was correct on how it was behaving. The reason why this is doing what this is doing is because the target position being set is basically completely utterly invalid. It essentially was creating a not a number situation, which not a number basically is doubles equivalent of saying, well, the number is completely foobarred. So what was messed up is, for starters, we were creating the target vector off of the wrong object. We were creating it off the missile, not the missile object. So missile object is the cluster, and it might actually just even help me just to rename this to missile cluster so I don't get confused ever again. Rename the parameter, ignore that. So we were doing that. We were then creating a vector that was 200 long, so we were getting the vector correct. I forgot to add the position. That was one of the big things, was a failure. That's a second broken point, and then after that, it works. So what we end up with actually ended up being created is something like this. Now, it's not what I want, but it is providing for an adequate result, and to be honest, I might just leave it in here, because it still makes the cluster missile work as expected. So we still get this nice cluster pattern, and as long as I point at something, it goes, I think, roughly where I point. Let's check this out. I'm not going to move my cursor, just a test. Should come back down. Yeah, so it's going to come down right where, well, it looks like it's not coming down where my cursor actually is. That could have to do with the offset not being correct. I'll definitely have to toy with that and work on that more, but it means that we will end up with a result that's appropriate. Now we're going to test this with a launcher really quick just to make sure that everything is set up. I actually do have a launcher set up over here in this village. Was testing earlier just to confirm whether or not the handheld launcher was the problem. I did realize that it was also the cluster, or the missile in general is problematic, and I definitely have to spend a lot more time working on it to get it working as expected, but progress is being made. Now this is already set up, and I've already got it set that I don't need power, so I don't have to charge it. So let's go ahead and find a spot that has not been molested by missiles, and we'll target that spot. And my laser cursor was right there. That should have fired. That didn't work at all as expected. So it looks like there is some calculation problems with how this is behaving, and I just have to fix the math at this point. Once I get the math fixed and get it where the cluster is forming appropriately, then the next step is really just to get the missiles where they're flying in an appropriate manner. Having them go up and come back down really isn't that big of a thing, but I'll toy with it, and I'll make sure I record the code so that way if we want to go back to that as a method for another missile, it's there, although I really want to make sure that what ends up happening with the cluster is we get a flight path that's straight, like the missile that just fired out of that. Let me actually grab another missile so I can explain this a little better. So what I want to see happen, grabbing everything but what I want to grab, is that we end up with a straight pattern like that when it comes out of it. So if we end up firing the cluster, what we'll end up with is a cluster pattern, and it'll do something like that. And I forgot there is that behavior where you can ride the missile. Good to see that's still working for 112. Anyways, I'll be back with another video.